Welcome to the Daily Beast Show with Aurelien Millot, Issa in the house, and we're going to be chatting about raising your consciousness, vibration, and quality of life, and whatever else comes to us. How are you,
Hi,
Aurelien?
everybody. Very good. What about you?
Very good, very good. It's good to be back. I haven't been on the show for a good few months, so it's good to be getting back into the swing of it and having yourself on the show. Second one back in a week, so yeah, I'm excited to have a chat. And to tell you the truth, man, the first time you jumped on, it had such a good response, and so many people just loved hearing what you had to say, sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and all the things that are coming out of Shanghai and Bali over there. And yeah, you're really changing the world with some amazing stuff. So I'm loving having you on here and sharing you with the world. And yeah, looking forward to what we're going to dive into today.
My pleasure to be here, and I have a little bit of pressure if you say that. I need to be at another level. Anyways, there is no notion of performance. It's just for fun, right?
That's right, 100%. Just being ourselves, 100%
Yeah, exactly.
authenticity.
There is one great philosopher, Václavic, who said life is a game for which the first rule is to say that it is not a game. So let's play.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. That's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah, I love it. So the game of life, we've got how we're going to raise our consciousness and our vibration and our quality of life. And we did go into a lot of that the first conversation we had. So for those of you who haven't met Aurelien before, definitely go and check out our first episode. I'll put a link in the bio as well to the first conversation we had. But just share a little bit for those people that haven't met you, Aurelien, about what you're doing, the kind of work that you've done in the past and how it's led to where you are right now, and just your sort of mission and vision of what you're doing to impact the world right now.
All right. So actually, I'm the co-creator of a holistic well-being center, Shambhala. So in Bali. So I'm living in between Bali and Shanghai for almost 10 years now. So I'm a holistic, let's say, co-founder of different holistic retreats and so on. And actually, this is also more a foundation and state of mind because Shambhala, concretely to explain a little bit what is it. It is so we propose some retreats to help people to find themselves. So it's with different activities like different disciplines, Reiki, Qigong, Kundalini Yoga. Many things. Let's say there is 20 different ones. It's normally it's some period of 5 days, and the objective is that people feel good, but when you see the place is not so difficult because everybody is taking care of the guest and so on. So, but the main issue for us is to help people to find themselves, find the way, and especially to it's okay.
Yeah, perfect. My
Yeah.
bad.
All right. All right. Now, the objective is really that the people have different tools and to reactivate these high frequencies in their daily life actually. And this is our main challenge. This is really to enlarge the perspective of the horizon of life and so on. There is coaching of life dimension. There is scientific perspective, artistic perspective, and also spiritual one as well. Yeah. So here it is a little bit. So it's also a foundation because we finance an orphanage, and also there we try to help local people to. Let's say instead of necessarily giving like charity, it's based on
Mm.
Confucianism. Instead of giving a fish to someone who is hungry, to help and to teach them how to fish, to help them to organize some little, let's say, mission, let's say a job or enterprise is a big word. But and also we help local people to clean up, to recycle, and to teach them how to avoid plastic. Even if it's definitely better in Bali, we still need some help. And so it's concrete approach of what we teach in the sense of well-being. There is a double sense. Most of people think about happiness,
Yeah.
but it is so. It's a matter of fact. It's true. It's harmony, a quest of harmony, but it's also well-being in the sense of good behavior. And because we definitely think that, as Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world without any pretension. We try actually at our humble scale to help people and to do some consequent things.
Mm.
And beyond of that, there is also another project within that, which is Shambhala Foundation, in the sense of a giant, very gigantic database with the good ideas of the planet, that you say inspiration of the past and from now. And just to help people, so it's free access for the people to have good inspiration. And because we are always focusing on the news, let's say, on the negative points, and actually there is as much as good as bad news in a certain way, but we are always conveying actually the bad news, and actually many things are happening in the world. And the goal is really to focus on that, and also to organize ourselves to just to help and to try to make a better world. It sounds to be a little bit Teletubbies, but it is a real deep philosophy, and it is actually the fruit of many years. So it's not only me, of course. There is a group beyond that, and this is also the restitution of. A lot of knowledge from different culture. From personally, initially I choose business, so I'm in parallel. I'm CEO of a company of textile fashion industry, so nothing to see. And I choose business initially to travel and to discover the world, discover the culture, and so on. Because I was really, when I was young, very in a quest of knowledge and so on. So I'm not only let's say learning by books, but also with the real life. And so I visit almost 70 countries in the world. So not to show off, I'm saying that, but just to experience as well the sociology, the testimonies of people, and so on. And so here it is, my second activity. And my third one, I'm professor for different business schools, so MBA students, or entrepreneurship, this kind of thing, business in general, negotiation, this kind of thing. And also more and more, I do the link in between these two words, which is more and more I give some conferences, lectures regarding the sense of life, regarding how to manage their life, let's say more peacefully, more with more harmony, and so on. So this is really to try to enlarge the perspective of the new generation, because they are the ambassadors of this new world. If you want to achieve this new paradigm. So, for example, I teach for MBA in finance. So I really try to explain what concretely is finance, and it's not to criticize necessarily, but for the people be aware about that. Personally, I study finance and business initially, and especially finance, to understand, and to go inside like Troy horse, and also to try to establish at my humble scale, let's say, some values, some let's say kind of respect. I handle and I follow a lot of theses with students with ethics, eco-friendly things, and so on. A lot of projects like this, and so I try really to use and to combine the different, let's say, angles of what's the life offering, and I really try to apply what I call, and I baptize my holy style of life. Like holistic. Mixed with style, holy style of life, which is based on kind of spirituality, value, and so on in the daily life, because it's a matter of fact. Life is violent. It's easier to be, zen and so on in the retreats, in Bali. That's fine. But in the difficulty of life, this is probably more challenging and this is probably where I learn more the operational things like mindfulness, like the capacity to manage the stress and so on. And so now I teach that to my employees, to my students, and to the guests in Shambhala region. Just to give you to give people who don't know me necessarily a little insight.
Insight.
Here I am.
I love it.
Here I am.
It is amazing. It's like the one of the first things I learned from my coaching and getting coaching for myself was that the work is done outside of the classroom. Like I meet my coach once a week, but that's where they give us a little push, a little nudge, or a little bit of a different paradigm to take on. But essentially, the practice and the work's done in the brutality of day-to-day life, and that's where you really get to embody and take on whatever lesson it is that you're going through in life at that point. So I think that's also for me Issa, is one of the things that I've really been drawn to bring to this show as well, is that that more grounded approach to spirituality and living day to day, and collaborating that the ideas of running a successful and profitable business with having that higher vibrational consciousness and self-awareness, and just keeping yourself on that trajectory of conscious evolution, but while being grounded at the same time, and being able to have successful relationships, successful business, just be a success overall, and have that, like you said, that wellness in all aspects of life as well. So it's again just like the first conversation we had, and it took so long for us to get on, and we knew it was going to be amazing. It doesn't surprise me that the sort of things that I've been mulling over in my mind, and the things I want to bring to this, is basically exactly what comes out of your mouth, and what you have been delivering for years now, and what you continue to do. It's great.
Yeah, actually, what you say is really interesting. In coaching of life, we learn that the fact that the course is, I mean, the experience is essentially out of the class. You know, it's is really practical, and this is exactly what I try to convey and to give to people, because Confucius, the great philosopher, I mean. Confucianism is 26 centuries ago. He said, if you don't want to work, choose a job that you like, and you will never have to work a single day. And actually, this is really important, because, in coaching of life in general, the first person that we have to coach is ourselves. And it's interesting because you can use the new methodology, which is exactly the same than in the past. The myotics from the ancient Greek, it is to help people to find themselves. Seneca from the ancient Greek is say there is no favorable wind for the people, they don't know where they go. And actually, what's the key issue, and I'm always trying to help people when you launch a company, for example, whatever the business, actually, you always start with a keyword, which is the reason of being. The reason of being, the raison d'être in French. Actually, this is always used in strategy, because a lot of people, they don't really identify the dreams, their goals, and so on. And then you have a different structure to apply. And I would say that's even further than this, even the happiness. Happiness is not a finality. Happiness is a kind of discipline with different ways, different activities, hygiene of life. As we saw last time, we saw almost 20 ways of rise up the energy, the frequencies. Yeah. But actually, it's a discipline, because it's not to force yourself to be happy and to that it is fake, not at all. It is really because it's a discipline. It's you have to reprogram, you have to reparameter your mind, and so on. So this is really important to take into account and to apply that. It's like some paradoxal religious people that they go to the church, to the mosque, or to the synagogue, or whatever, the temple, and outside they are behaving completely different. And this is for what I'm calling paradox religious, because for me, the temple is everywhere. The temple is here, contemplate, the word is now, here, you see? And even meditate is that. Meditate is medium in Latin, it means center. So coming back to the center. So when you contemplate the word, you are within your own temple. And that's why you can go through different ways. And actually, this is what we will try to see today. There is, as I'm always saying, all the roads lead to Rome and to home. I had always and to home, because actually everywhere is your home. When you, some people say, just to reply what you said, because it was really, of course, is flattening the ego and so on. When you say successful, if I can afford, I feel successful, not for the richness I accumulate for my companies and so on, not at all, because I'm happy, because I'm simply happy with what I have. Of course, I struggle, and I tried as a discipline to obtain what I had, because I defined my dreams, and I did as the little prince said, turn your life into a dream and this dream into reality. So I applied that for my own life, and I try to share that, because the dream is big, actually. We can dream together. And I'm still the kid, the inner child, still dreaming very, very big for helping people to rise up their consciousness. And this is what we're going to see. Because first of all, it's very interesting to define what is consciousness as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely it is. And we've had Lily Richter on the show last night, who was talking about self-love, and really the amount of people that don't have that belief and confidence within themselves, and just treating themselves really poorly because they lack that self-love. But once you are at that point where you've sort of taken responsibility for your world, and you are starting to treat yourself with a whole lot of love and respect, yeah, then it gets fun. You get to play with it, and what I think a part of that for me was really allowing myself, like you said, to have those big dreams and to be that little kid. And the more, like, all roads lead to Rome. It felt like for me, all roads led back to my mentality as a child, who had it right from the very beginning, got it kicked out of him through the process of growing up, and then went through that process of then stripping all that away just to remember what it was like to be that creator, and be able to live in a world where it's full of imagination and wonder and belief as well in the self and everything else around.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, there is different ways, and this one, the inner child, is extremely important, because the inner child is the creativity, is the way of the capacity to dream and so on, and to make things possible. We very often we say they did it because they didn't know it was impossible.
Yeah.
The kids are a little bit like this. That's why, if I some reference for religious, for example, religious reference is more for the folklore and for the culture, okay? But Jesus say that, and by the way, say, let coming to me, the little child, the, the the kingdom of heaven is within themselves. What does it mean? It means that with the child's vision in a certain way, with the inner child, you can catch back these high frequencies. Why? Because you are marveling at life. Wow, the fact that you are completely absorbed in when you observe the kids, you can be taught by them. The way they are just playing with the hands, the way they are doing. For example, I have a mouse. For them, it's a plane. You didn't see the plane, or a car, or whatever, and they have fun every time. For them, this is a playground. Life is a playground for them. Okay, so this is extremely important, and this is one of for me there is a triptych for complete mind. It is the child dirt. So there is a neologism: child dirt, child and
Childhood.
adult. Okay,
Yeah.
mixed together. Presage means sage like wise, wisdom. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a concept of the kid. So with the creativity, the innocence, the capacity to marvel, and at the center is the world, the adults, and then so the rationality, the Cartesianism, and so on, and then the pre-sage, because it is the wisdom itself, but is a pre-sage because it's in progress. Nobody say I'm wise, otherwise he's out of the wisdom. You understand? So anyway, it's
I love
little.
I love hearing your new words that you come up with. It's amazing. You fit into Australia perfectly, bro. We love chopping words, cutting them down, making them our own. So you'll fit right in down here.
But yeah, why we could not create words
That's right.
with our swords?
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic. So,
yeah.
man, I love it. So, with respect to, I guess the Shambhala, and you really using that to bring about wellness, not only to the people that join, but also the people in the area as well, which I think is fantastic. Can you take us through a little bit about what it is to be in the position you're in and really see the people come through as both the locals that are there, but also as the people that come through, and sort of, I guess, that journey of where you find most people are when they're entering into your world, and what you really like to where you really like to see them go before you, I guess, set them free and watch them fly on their own accord.
Yeah, this is the objective because, personally, I really have this concept of not talking necessarily all the time with oneness, but to apply oneness. It means that, there is a very nice concept. The African concept is Ubuntu. What does it mean? It means that concretely, you cannot be so satisfied if people don't have enough, And there is a very nice legend. Some scientists they analyzed the kids, and there was. Let's say challenging them with a notion of okay, the first one arriving to the box, he will have plenty of fruits, and when they say okay, let's go, all of them they took the hands of each other and they arrived at the same moment. And at the end, the adults they said, "But why you did that?" Because and they replied, "Because of Ubuntu." And they explained why we would be happy if nobody has anything. And they replied wisely. They say, and also what we will do with so much fruits. You see, so this is my philosophy. Doesn't mean this is good or bad. It's just my philosophy in the sense that I cannot have necessarily and drink. I don't drink alcohol, but drink a bottle of champagne for myself. I want to share, and probably also because and today is my second birthday in 98. This date, 8th of July. It's really nice. It was in 98,
Okay.
and before that, I've been really in a, let's say, bad mood when I was young and so on. And I really, let's say, struggle and to find different ways to catch and to have this permanent harmony. So now, it's like some people, they have a therapy and they want to help people when they have a trauma and so on. It's a little bit like me. Actually, I was not born, sorry, happy in a certain way. So I had a quest, an inner journey. And now the goal is not to that the people use as a copy paste, but at least that I give them some different ways for them to, different tools for them to find their own way, let's say. So it is a little bit what we have in mind, and the people in Shambhala, because I'm not the only one. We are six. We are the co-founder with my partner, my wife, and also we have four different practitioners, all talented, all with different sensitivity and so on, and different paths from different parts of the world and so on. So that's why it's really rich combo. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, when you're in the I'd be interested to hear when you do go into the universities, and especially in the, like, you're giving business lectures and finance lectures, how much of your practices and teachings in that setting are really welcomed openly, and how much is really new information for them? Yeah, what was the sort of reaction and the response you get in the university settings?
To be frank, without any pretension, so far I had the best marks and rates of the campus in different schools, and most of the time is in between 95% and 100%, depending of the years. And even people, because I inject on different kinds of even some spirituality, morality, and so on, but everybody finds something. Because I really try not to do proselytism. It means that I don't want that people adhere to my ideas necessarily. But at least, and even, when I ask them, I start the course asking them the reason of being. Some people say, make money. And that's fine for me.
Yeah.
I just want them to question themselves, just to be aware, to be conscious about what they really want in the future. So maybe, so of course, my philosophy is money is a good servant, but a bad master. But then it's up to them. If they want to make a lot of money, and probably when they will be 35, 40 years old, maybe they will feel that there is something missing for them. Maybe, but it doesn't mean that money is bad. I really insist. But I just try to push them to question themselves. And this is there is an awakening period, as a matter of fact, and it's amazing, that's great. But in parallel of that, we can see that a lot of people are completely brainwashed with the pleasure society, with the, we will talk about this probably, with the notion of ego in the personality and so on. And people believe in their personality in a certain way. It means that in the materialistic world and this illusion of reality, and they actually, so they're kind of lost or completely in an illusion of sensation, a party, fake friends, and so on. And at the end of the day, sometimes when they wake up, when if they wake up, of course, they just realize that they are completely in when they are 40 or more. And I met so many people like this, on the paper, they have a great career, they have a nice family, they have cars, all the, they tick in all
Tick all the boxes.
yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, they feel incomplete, and they have like existential question: what's life? What's the reason of life? What's the sense of life? And so on, so far. So I'm not at all saying that the materialistic world is not good, not at all. But at least to be balanced, you need both. I mean, both, and to be in a questioning all the time, because there is no finality. Personally, I'm always starting my course with my students, saying them that I'm a student of life, and it will be until the end. I mean, the end for the next round, next chapter. You see what I mean? Because otherwise, I'm dead. I'm a ghost. If I'm a zombie, if I'm not learning every day and so on. So anyway.
So tell me then about the personality. What is personality, and how does ego fit into that? And just let loose on on what personality is to you.
Yeah, actually, it's very important to define and to be clear. And behind of that, I could even add two more definitions. So ego, personality, identity, and even, let's say, individuality. Okay, so let's start. Ego, probably the most difficult to define, because I will define it with a religious way, which is not actually. Ego for me is edge God out. Okay, God in the notion of great overall dimensions. Okay, meaning thereby that because we will define what can be God and the consciousness in general, because there is different layers, not layers in the sense of not telling the truth, but there are different layers of perception, and according to this consciousness that on which we can tag God or whatever. I mean, in the religious concept. Okay, so but anyway, so concretely, because then we jump directly in the concept of consciousness. Ego for me is just a drop into the ocean, into the source of consciousness. Okay, so here it is. And then the ego, concretely, it is very linked to the personality. And personality, what does it mean concretely? Etymologically speaking, in Latin, persona, it's the mask. Okay, so they are the different mask that we have since the childhood, because of the education, because of the country you were born, because of acceptance or rejection. Okay, and you are just putting some different clothes, which are not close to you, by the way, because they are artificial according to your education, and you identified yourself towards this different clothes. And actually this is especially the personality, and that's why we are changing also. Personally, I'm not the same Issa Aurelien when I was 18, as I told you, than now, almost 40 years old, and I will be not the same. It's same for everybody. It's really, we are not continuously the same personality. So, and but what is really interesting to start to evolve in the notion of consciousness, awakening, and so on, is to be aware about the role that we have in this, let's say, piece of theater. Okay, when you observe yourself, when you, and this is, yeah, because you are actually, this is a little bit complex, but the observer, the observation, and the object, the subject, object, and observation is the same concept. Is the consciousness. Okay, so we will see by different ways what concretely is consciousness, which is intangible. But we will turn around the same point of singularity all the time. Okay, I don't want to
I'm
hypnotize
sure
you,
you're not
but
confusing
anyway,
people at
you
all.
understand the concept. So uh, yeah, now my personality, to go back to the point that you mentioned, to point out this personality concretely, it is the mask from the childhood education and so on. But it's not necessarily, this is, the first step to realize, to understand that actually what we have here, and this is what the Hindu called the Mayas are illusion, IL, like seek, illusion. Okay. And the first step is to realize that this is just a big joke, is a cosmic joke or whatever. And just to realize that, and we are playing a role, sometimes, and when you are detached from the reality, when you are applying the mindfulness, as to say that you're observing your way, you're like, in a piece of theater. Actually, it's interesting because you let less impact of your ego. Okay, so the ego, concretely, if I go further, the ego is a recipient, is a glass. Okay, is a glass of this big source. Is necessary to understand the unity. We have been separated from the source, the consciousness, the big consciousness, and we are conscious with the small letter, okay, of consciousness with a small c, towards the big consciousness, the with a c. There is only one consciousness normally, but then you have your identity, you have your personality to find back this unity. Okay, so if I continue on this notion of personality, it's really important because actually you have two ways of seeing it. A recipient is just to contain you. It's a container of the source. Okay, so if you have a lot of, let's say, filter with it, if you are red, if you are whatever, regarding the different colors would be linked to your education and so on. But if you are transparent because you are completely detached from anything, actually you are very closer to the source. If it's understandable what I'm saying, you follow?
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand.
So, and the personality actually is a vehicle to reach the unity at the end. Okay, inside, inward, and outward. Okay, that's why this is the concept I baptize universe. Universe, universe. Okay, it means the universe within you. It means this is a resonant process, which is you have the consciousness, you have the big consciousness, and the consciousness is outside of you, is both things, and there is a resonance. That's why Rumi, the great Sufi philosopher, said, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean within a drop. This is the concept. And all, let's say, insiders know that. What does mean insider? That everything is inside. The Greek philosophy in Delft says that um, know yourself and you will know the secret of the universe and the gods. It means that everything, every therapy, every kind of, let's say, coaching and so on is towards yourself. It doesn't mean that you become navel-gazing, selfish, that you only think about your face, your makeup, your little life and so on, your story and whatever. No, it's just that you are aware about the fact that, okay, you are playing your role in this game and you just analyze. And it's super funny to decipher the enigma of the roles. And just a little example. You can observe, for example, a couple. There is John and there is Jennifer. I don't know. Jennifer, she's completely absorbed by the soap TV she's following for 10 years, And one moment she say, "Oh, John is a hassle because he's cheating at Jessica or whatever." And the husband looking at her and they say, "It's just a movie. It's just illusion, And when you are aware about this joke, let's say the fact that we are playing a role, it starts to be funny, and the game is starting really deeply. And what I'm saying is a kind of detachment. It doesn't mean that you are not part of the game. You are part of the game, and you are playing as well. It was a game in a game, actually. All right. And another point for regarding the ego, actually, you can perceive it as a self, and self you can hear as well cell. Either is a prison, okay, for which the roles exist because you give an existence to them, okay, like people are bad, I'm the good one, and so on and so forth, and I'm good, and people are horrible, and so we are in a small box, and can be a country, can be a community, can be whatever, until a country of one person, your personality, and so you have the choice to say that, to see the ego as a limitation. Either you feel the ego as a cell of a an amazing cosmic body. And that's why the Hindus said, try to find your space, which is already yours in this cosmic breath. Okay, let me give you an example. Last year, France won the World Cup. Okay, who won? It is the right leg of Mbappe, the scorer, is, and the left leg is jealous about his right leg because the right leg scored. No, is Mbappe? No, it is the team, right? Some people play, some people didn't. Okay, and French people, they are proud about their team and so on. The people who love football, they are personally. I watched a little bit yesterday. The US for ladies, they won, and I was super happy. So I was a little bit the winner as well because I enjoy. You see what I mean? So when you see that as this with the notion of cosmic cell, you enlarge the perspective because this is an illusion. This is an illusion that we are separate. And but it is important. I'm not saying that we have to blame ego. We have just to use it as a good servant, not as a bad master. Just one thing,
Yeah.
and it's probably the most important thing I would say here. One thing that few people knows: existing. So to exist in English, coming from the Latin, means separate. What does it mean? It means that you need to fragment things to live. What does it mean? It means that to come here down to earth, you are out of the source, and you need to be a drop to understand or to understand. Okay, understand within yourself the unity within your universe. You understand? This is really the principle, and without that, that's why when we say the illusion of duality and so on is good to be aware, and is even necessary to understand and to find back the unity.
Mm-hmm.
There is an opposition, is a complementarity in between the duality and the holistic dimensions. That's to say, holos in Greek means global. Okay, so and the oneness. And normally, naturally, there is only oneness, only one consciousness, and so on. But the thing is that, check this out: if you are the piece of paper, the painting, and you are the painter, you cannot see. You have to detach from the painting to see the beauty of the masterpiece. Okay,
Absolutely.
and it's the same phenomenon. That's why a lot of people, and more we say that without the religious question, but that's what we say, that God is experiencing Himself through us, and we are in a process of experiencing God through within us, within ourselves. Okay, this is a little bit the notion of ego and personality.
So then
Okay.
how does that bringing it sort of grounding all that down, if you're in a lecture, in a business lecture, how do you go from speaking on duality and non-duality and having that detachment and playing this game, and then switch to how to create quality of life through following your passions, through creating a successful business, or to, or can I ask, maybe is it that when you have that broader perspective, you actually just go forth and take a lot more action and confidently and in the direction that you just feel like going, because you know that it's just a game. So you don't have as many, the limitations that once were there aren't there necessarily anymore, because you just see them as just this illusion that's in front of you anyway. So is that the impact that it has, or how do you then go on and give tangible, practical advice to go and, say, build a business, for example?
Yeah, actually, this concept of playing a game is definitely, when you have a ludic dimension, you learn definitely faster. Okay, you enjoy life, and it's proved when you see the Silicon Valley. They understand that for decades now. Okay, when you enjoy, when you like your job, when you do things that you are good at, and so on, when you like it, you are more. Do you know a lot of prime Nobels, physics or whatever, who has been tortured to find a pattern or to find an amazing idea and to be prime Nobel? No,
Okay.
they were passionate by what they did, So when you have fun in what you do, so I have many tools for that. We do a lot of simulation, negotiation simulation. I use a lot of empathy as well. Empathy for negotiation. Just for example, I ask them to find for 10 different topics, really delicate topics, most of the time I ask them to have some pros and some drawbacks from both sides, and then according to the belief, I ask them to defend the opposite case. Okay, so it is, because for me empathy is something that and I remember I'm saying for almost 10 years, even 15 years, sorry, that it should be a course, because empathy, it's the basis for a new word. Empathy, what it is, you put your consciousness on the consciousness of someone else. And it means that you have the integrated system of thoughts of someone. Everybody think he has the reality. He take the truth. We say that the truth, it was like a broken mirror falling down, and everybody take a small piece. And by reflection, you think it is the truth. If I use the Rubik cube, I talked about that last time, I think.
Yeah.
But if I show you the Rubik cube and I say, okay, Matt, what do you see? What's the color you see? And you can say it's a green, and I will tell you, no, Matt, you're crazy or what? It's orange. And someone else here, the midget here, maybe he will say, I don't know, it's yellow or whatever. You see, and then what's the reality actually? The truth is this, like the reality, the absolute reality doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but it's absolutely infinite. So it's impossible for us as human beings, as we are finite, to realize or to understand it. So concretely, the absolute reality of absolute truth is the sum of the all subjective realities. So concretely speaking, to come back on the point, that's why it's interesting, the empathy. Why? Because concretely, once you integrate the different system of perception of people, the more you are closer to the source. And if we could have the opinion on everybody on the planet and being completely detached about that, to understand that, for example, this guy has been a murderer because, I don't know, he has been traumatized since his childhood and so on, it doesn't mean that you excuse that, but you can understand the path of this person, and empathy is one of them. So to come back to the point, in my business school, for example, in the business school, because I'm teaching in 5 different business schools, so in Shanghai, in Paris, and essentially. But let's say, we have many tools to play and also to learn, because life is not only playing. Sometimes there is also, some more. It's like if you're always happy. Misfortune is just to highlight the happiness, you say. So sometimes you need to do boring things, accountancy or whatever, but accountancy for the people, they are just focusing on money, they are counting the money. So you see what I mean? So anyway, you can have fun for everything, and this is really what I try to transmit with the students, and also with values, because the goal is that really they enlarge the capacity of perception and consciousness as well. Okay, so is it clear for you, for this notion of ego, this notion of personality?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And actually, and if we, by extension, if we continue, because individuality or individual is the same origin, and also the notion of identity, what is interesting, because normally your identity, when you show your passport and so on,
Yeah.
identity means same. So
Same.
it means that in terms of human beings, we are same because we are men and women and so on, but we are same.
Yeah.
Our identity is a common wall already. And if we go further, because in Latin, idem means same. Okay, so identity is this. And beyond of that, if you see, for example, individuality means indivisible in English. Sorry, yeah. It means that you cannot separate.
Yeah.
So you are a world because yeah, you are already your own company. You are a wall, and also because not a wall, huh? A wall, and yeah, not a great wall neither. And yeah, working in
Oh.
China for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it can be, when you play like this with the words, this is what we call in the mysticism, we call that the green language, or we call that the language of birds. Okay, whatever the language in Arabic, in French, or whatever, in Farsi, whatever, we use this kind of thing. I will give you some other later, like universe, as I told you, but I will play with the words like this as well later on. But this is interesting to understand that, yeah, individuality means that you cannot separate. So individual, we cannot separate themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
as a person and also as a community, we cannot normally separate each other. And this is the big illusion, and the point of the illusion was through the French René Descartes, who separate the ego with the environment. Okay, by this moment, actually, concretely, there is. I'm not saying that before they think globally and so on, like animals, and they for example, they no, but they are at this moment with his famous "I think, therefore I am," which is, sorry to say that, partial subjective reality. You see, I'm politically correct, but anyway. And by the way, it would be too long to explain that this is only history, which kept in mind only a path of, I mean, a vision of Descartes. Normally, was much more holistic than that, because actually he used this technique of separate the ego from the environment to understand better afterwards the big picture, with this notion of I'm the painting and the painter at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm on the surface, and I need to extract to understand the difference. And this is the whole reason of being of this existence right now. Existence, separation, and you have that. The great book of life is that when you observe nature, you have that. For example, and it's written in the Quran, for example, and this is the following actually. In the ocean, you are in Australia, so you know that you have the warm current and the cold current. Why? Because it's creating the duality, creating a dynamic, a dynamism, creating the climates and the change of season and so on. Without that, it's a stagnating water, like normal water in the lake, and actually you don't have climate, you don't have life. So the duality. That's why a lot of people nowadays are afraid about the homogeneity of the society, everybody copy paste and so on, which is a matter of fact, and because you can preserve your differences by having your own identity, and actually this is the principle of the Babel Tower, the Tower of Babel the myth. No. The Tower of Babel. 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 You never heard?
No.
It's a kind of. This is a myth in the Bible, and actually the civilization has been completely homogenized, and actually they start to touch the sky, and God separate them. They create the language to separate them.
Yeah.
And also because this is implied through that, the metaphor is the fact that you separate to find you back. So God experienced himself through ourselves. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. And having infinite
So this
experiences.
is Yeah. Right. Different experience. We are here for that. It is just a training. It is just an experience. And by the way, even in the language of bird, when you hear properly, he passed away. He passed away, for example. Okay, he died. Okay. But in other way around, you can hear as a diploma, he passed away. Okay. He passed his away. So he obtained his diploma because we are here just as a student of life. You know, do you want to study? Okay, one doctorate, one PhD, a second one, a third one, and at the end, you're gonna work, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna enjoy. So afterwards, of course, there is a life after life, and after life, and after life. Okay, and as long as we realize that we have something to learn, basically.
So going back a little bit, your the keyword, like the reason for being. I'd love to know what yours is for the Shambhala, for Shambhala, but also do you have one for yourself and for your own life as well?
Sure, but mine is a little bit tricky because I have a double face of my reason of being. My first reason of being is to be in harmony, and the second one is to be useful. And why always on this way? Because I cannot be useful for people if I'm not in harmony. And the more I'm useful, the more I'm in harmony. And like chicken and egg. So that's why I combine this with the two faces of the same medal. It's nice to want to change the word and so on. But the thing is, how come you want to change a word if, by the way, it's a pretension, but if you're not already the ambassador of what you teach, you see? And even that's why Gandhi say, be the change that you want to see in the world. Rumi, the great Sufi, say a little bit differently. He said the following, something like, when I was young, I was clever. I wanted to change the world. Now I'm wise and I change myself,
Yes.
And also because when you know as an insider, when you know that as much as you change, you have an impact because there is a resonance, because you are the universe. So the more you change inside, and the more there is an impact to the people. Otherwise, you become a dictator, but you cannot force people. They have their own path. That's a matter of fact. Okay, and even the worst thing that we can see is a part of the divine blueprint, if I can afford, and also to see the difference of what we are not, for example, at least for now. You see? And if we are not all clones and all copy paste and all the same, it's super boring.
What's your identity? Show me your identity.
My identity or my personality?
Well, your identity, the same as everyone else. Boring.
I am I'm human.
Man,
basically, yeah.
Are you okay?
No, that's it. I'm from this amazing race and on the planet who is able within a half century to destroy the half of other race. So probably the less evolved in terms of consciousness. But we try our best, right? But trying is not fixated.
Yeah.
We are here to help each other, right?
One thing I really loved, which sort of simplified it for me, was in a book that I've been reading by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that taught transcendental meditation, and
Right.
the way he explained it was just so simple, and I love it as well. It's that the cosmic consciousness or the non-duality is essentially having infinite experiences, and the key word for the unity of everything would be the infinite experiences. And then on a sort of soul level that we've come down here and we get to experience that, we get the purpose there is to evolve and to constantly have that constant evolution. So that's the sort of the game that we're playing, I guess. And then on a human level, this limited human conscious level that we're at, the key word there would just be to express, an expression, and to really just express ourselves authentically and vulnerably and openly, and go in the direction that we want to go in, wherever we're getting pulled towards, have the strength not to say no to the things we don't want, And on that journey of self-expression, we're going to have, like I said, the happiness, the sadness, the boring bits, but that's what's going to help our soul evolve, which is essentially helping the cosmic have infinite experiences. And so, like you said, when you can just sort of detach from that, the seriousness of the day-to-day of the illusion of Maya, you get to have those experiences, and you get to freely express yourself more openly, and you know that's a part of just the infinity. So even when I stubbed my toe and broke my toe the other day, I was like, well, that infinite experience needed to happen at some point, so it might as well be fucking right now.
Right. Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also, I wanted to touch on as well, like, one thing that's come up for me is, like, I've put on to the Daily B show 3 key words, and they are pretty broad, but at the same time I wanted to sort of hone it in a little bit compared to what it was. And I've put on, like, the B still stands for what it did: believe in yourself, express yourself authentically, and evolve consciously, which is along that line of what Maharishi taught. But I've also gone with business, success, and wellness. And I think with what we're talking about, the business on one side, which for me is that sort of grounded exterior, sort of tangible world, and the wellness is that more internal world, the wellness of self, the wellness of the body, the wellness of relationships, and in that harmony. And I feel like that exterior, interior, to bring that together, the success of those two together, is just that good sort of triangle. But with what you're doing at Shambhala as well, like you said, like you've got that good mix of business acumen and grounded, tangible, result driven, momentum and action, and then at the same time you've got that heavy focus on that evolving consciousness and that evolution within the body, and that wellness within your heart and your soul and your body as well. Like, can you talk to me a bit more about that for my own and obviously the viewers' understanding as well, but just for, like, instinctively, that's where my mind went coming back into this, but it's obviously where you see the importance of having that balance.
Actually, the balance, it's even the symbol of the cruise. This is horizontality, a good alignment with the horizontality. That's to say, the materialistic dimension, the good food, the good party, the good sex, whatever. Okay, you love life, you love nature, you're grateful for that. Is one thing, and then the alignment with the invisible world doesn't mean necessarily God, religious, whatever. It can be spiritual, can be science, and so on. Because the more you study science, and this is what we will see later, the more it is difficult not to believe in something, whatever the word, right? It's a kind of consciousness. And just one thing, by the way, and I will go back to the point. You know that we have the equivalent of 10 point powers, 60. So it's billions of billions of billions of billions of billions of chance to be on this planet, and everything is working well. Just to compare, it's like if you are targeting, with a gun or whatever, just a target of 1 centimeter by 1 centimeters, and the distance is 40 million light years. Okay, and then we will say that life is just it's just a miracle in a certain way. When you see and you observe the astronomy, so on, you know that if you are just a line slightly different from the sun, too far, we are completely frozen. Too close, we are burned, and so on. The magnetism, the different forces that we have on this, it's just amazing. And actually, this is the kind of thing that I'm always saying. That the comparison is if you put, some from a Boeing 7, whatever, a big plane, you put the different components on over 1 kilometer, there is a tornado, and at the end, oh, miracle, there is a giant, very giant, an amazing plane. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the same when you observe the universe in general. So the science allows you as well to come back to kind of belief of something deeper. I will quote some scientist later if you follow me, and you will see that they were most of them very spiritual and not from centuries, from recent. Niels Bohr, Max Planck, Einstein, and so on. The creator in quote mark is not creator, but the the
Discoverer.
they are at the origin of discovery of the quantum mechanics. So it's not it's quite recent, and so it's they are like kind of down to earth. But what I mean thereby, and I will jump back on this, the thing, a good balance is that to be the feet on the floor in a certain way, down to earth, and the mind in the sky, observing the stars in general, you know what I mean? And the good balance is that I'm going to tell you another thing as well, someone that I really admire, Da Vinci, okay? How to define this guy in terms of personality? He was an artist, a genius for spirituality, for science, for everything. Okay, and because he was passionate, and this is something I use very often for coaching of life, because his key point was loving in what he was doing. Okay, so the first thing. But this guy actually he said something very interesting. He said to be a complete mind, study the science of art, the art of science, develop your senses, especially how to see and to perceive as well, realize that everything is interconnected to everything else. Wow, we have one key. Everything is entangled. Everything is linked within this universe. That's why it's fascinating. The more you dig, the more you discover it's like an enigma. I'm like Indiana Jones, when the kids, and actually the more you evolve in this dimension, the more you feel this cosmic pulse, this cosmic breath, and you feel that it's kind of crazy thing. The world is talking to you all the time. The synchronicity arrive and so on, and you just live a miracle. So you're gonna say to me, and how much do you pay for your psychologue or your whatever? No, actually, this is okay. I'm always saying we are not schizophrenics. We are not talking about myself. A joke aside. Now, in the sense that you can be actually balanced, and if you are not, if you are unbalanced, people completely always religious in the sky and so on, they are not on earth. They are completely out, detached. But this is their choice. If they want the moksha and so on, this is the fact to avoid the cycle and so on. But in different ways. That's why personally, I invite people, just one thing for me. That's why I try also to show the people to discover the things through different ways. Okay, whatever the tag, spirituality, science, and so on, because everything bring back to Rome and to home once again, universe. Okay, but why this? Because otherwise, I feeling very frustrating sometimes when I see some people just actually life is so intense and so amazing that it's like the kids. Sometimes you offer it to a kid 5 years old for Christmas or whatever, a birthday, and they are just playing with the box, the envelope, the box, and you say, what the fuck, I could have just give a yeah, it's just the box and so on. But anyway, the day after 2 days and so on, you will play with the toy. But, and concretely speaking, and you will understand probably the metaphor of life, in life, a lot of people, most of the people are playing just with the box. So they are completely, they are not aware about the toy itself, not the for kids, of course, in this metaphor.
So
No,
on that as well,
and sorry, just to finish. And some people are just learning by earth. The guide of the toy. They are just focusing on it.
the manual.
Like just the manual. Yeah, exactly. And they are just learning all the time, learning the manual of the toy. They are not playing with the toy. They are just learning the manual, and maybe they will learn in different languages and so on. It's a metaphor, subtle metaphor for the people only focus on the holy texture, holy scripture, for example, and they are completely out of the practice of the cult or the spirituality or whatever. If I'm clear.
it is a very fine line. It seems to be between psychosis and enlightenment. Would you agree?
Right. Kind of, because if the person would pretend to be, let's say, enlightened, and some people say that sometimes, I'm always it's a process. It's a process. It's the same process that saying I'm wise. No, it's you're in the process of lifting your vibration. Okay, this is the principle of ascending. Ascent is that is not necessarily to go in the sky. It is a metaphor. It's rising up your energy. This is the principle of Christ. This is the principle of Buddha. Buddha, what does it mean? It means, in Sanskrit, it means enlightened. Okay. And by the way, you have the key in English, light and light. Okay. Light. Okay. You're in the sky. And by the way, even that's when you are in love and so on, you feel like flying. You have a butterfly in the eyes. But if on the other way around, you are EV in the matter and so on, you have matters, by the way. You are in the gravity's grave, you see? And this is the notion of frequencies. So even that, the fact, the paradise, the hell, and so on. What the hell? It's here, right here. If you put your glasses of hell. Okay, today I decided to be annoyed by the word because I'm in my prison and the word is bad. And so I will have the resonance of my feeling. I am what I think. And the word is what I think as well. And on the other way around, that's why when we say the beauty is in the eyes of the people who see it, it's true. But on the conversary as well, the contrary is true as well. If the darkness is in the eyes of the people as well. So all the time is interesting to realize this kind of thing.
And the matter.
Sarcastic, enlightened, I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. People will think what they have. They will take a little bit of. They will. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Boom! It is fun. I love it.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. It is, and when people make things matter as well, like you're saying, when things matter and there's this attachment to it, it just has this dense and heavy energy, just like material things.
And the matter problem and also matter materialistic. Yes, that's correct. And this is never innocent. The word are not innocent. The word in English or whatever the language. I said maybe last time, even the words, the swords, okay, the peaceful swords. But this is an energy. This is a frequency. Okay, do re mi fa sol. Okay, it's the same one. It's the same. It's a question of frequency. If you want to discover the secret of the universe, things in terms of frequency, vibration, and energies. This is Nikola Tesla, a great scientist. Okay, everything is that. The structure of our languages are that. For example, grammar is come from grimoire, which is a witch book. Okay, which book, not which. So it shows that in our structure of talking, it is there is an impact of the mind of the people. That's why in the Genesis you have that. You have at the beginning, sorry, it was the word was in God, and the word was God. Sorry, yeah, it's three times. It's sorry. It's at the beginning the word was with God. In God and was God. And actually it shows that the word is a frequency. Okay, so it's kind of consciousness. And actually all what we do in the way of talking, when you say, for example, when you spell, okay, S-P-E-L-L, okay, spell, cast a spell. What is it? Witchery. Okay, I send you something. Hey, abracadabra. You see what I mean? So actually, when you talk to people, actually, it's a kind of, that's why we say in communication, this is one of the fourth power. We can brainwash people very easily. So when the people knows the way of communicating and so on, that is. Yeah, but just regarding this notion of matter, you know that Einstein said a very important thing. He said, that what we call matter is just energy, is the vibration for which the frequencies have been highly reduced to be perceptible to our senses. There is no matter. He said that. There is no matter. It's only forces. Okay, so people say,
Yeah.
if I punch you, there is no matter. Yes, there is, but it is just a reaction force with my,
Yeah. And
it's true.
that's
It's
what blew
exactly
my
that.
mind
And
is
this is
that,
what we discovered.
yeah, it's blew my mind that it took it that was in the 1920s, and yet that's not common knowledge. Still, that's not common knowledge. That, just that alone, the fact that at school is, and at I don't know, at universities, but definitely at school, that's not being taught as common practice and common knowledge. We're still being taught that this is a material world. But that tiny bit of information, it's a big bit of information, but the knowledge around that has such massive implications for how your view of the world is, and how you see the world, and how you grow up, and the way you think about the world and everything in it. And that's a massive piece of information that I think is left out for still the majority of people. And still, to talk to people about this, you need to explain it to people a lot of the time, because they don't have any fucking idea about it. They still don't understand where it came from.
Yeah, but actually, it's true that it is really recent discovery and recent in quota mark, because for example, Max Planck, Niels Bohr, and so on. Quantum mechanics is 1 century ago, so it's not so old. Second, the Greek science, for example, Plato and so on, is talking about atoms already, and everything is atoms. Everything is atoms at the end. Protons, and so energy, subtle quarks, and so on.
Yeah.
And they knew that if you learn, for example, Upanishad or Veda, the mystical Hindu text, there is a lot of reference regarding quantum mechanics. It's not new. Even the fact, just another example as well, regarding religious, when Jesus say, if you have enough faith to say to the mountain, it's a translation from French. So you say to the mountain, move up, let's say, it will do if actually you believe in it. And most of people, they don't believe in it. And actually, it's even more tricky, because actually to realize this kind of miracles, and this is the fruit of Nag Hammadi text that we discover in the 50s, Nag Hammadi text and the Qumran text in Jordan, Israel, actually they are really, really the gospel, the real gospel, knowing that initially there is 4 gospel, and initially there are 45 gospel. Why? Because the Council of Nice, 4th century, Constantine take it out. A lot of them, you didn't understand, you didn't like, dégage. They take it out, and actually, but the real essence of Christianism is within this text. And actually, what they say concretely, and this is exactly what we do in the quantic, coaching of quantic things, and so on, is exactly that, is thinking and with the art. Okay, you feel, and concretely, what is it? The technique is basic. It's just the fact to visualize, and with the art, meaning that you feel and you are already grateful for what you are asking for.
Have
Even
already
the
received.
legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aladdin, the genius, okay, the genie, the little genie in the bottle, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me anything and I will wish. Is a metaphor of your inner God, in your inner guidance, that you ask for wishes, and you are already thinking that it's already there. And why is already there? Actually, because everything is there. And actually, this is something that we will dig into the consciousness. And once we have these keys, we can be co-creator, but real ones. And by the way, for the people think, oh, he's a little bit crazy, this guy. Just one thing basic, guys. Einstein said the following, which is extremely important, and is probably one of the most important things he said. He said that everything is energy, and that's all. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you will not stop. You will be not able to stop getting it. It cannot be otherwise. It's not philosophy, it is science. So the key important information is that match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you will not be able not to getting it, or something like this. I mean, you will get it because you match the frequency of the reality that you want. What does it mean concretely? Explanation, simple. I mean, simple in quota mark. Um, we are, okay, so when we talk about illusion, I just need to reprecise something. Okay, what you see right now is 2000 bytes of information, despite the fact that you have in front of you 40 millions of bytes of information. It's just a filter. We see reality through a keyhole. Okay. Concretely, what we call matter, the physical matter, is 4% of the reality. 27% of the dark matter we cannot see. It's a full of information, but you cannot see it. Okay. 67% is dark energy. So only 4% is visible, potentially visible, and 94%, 6%, sorry, 96% is invisible, but it's full of information. The vacuum, 99.99% is vacuum, so apparently emptiness, and it's full of information. Okay, so this is the first point. But actually, what is important in this concept is that the notion of reality, we are vibration, okay, and we are not only this body, okay. That's why this is the principle of the traditional holistic medicine. This is what we do and what we aspire to do in the future with Shambhala and so on, inspired by the Chinese medicine, Taoism, and so on and so forth. I studied that during many years in China. Concretely, what is it? It's preventive medicine instead of curative preventive business, as we have in our modern society and everywhere, unfortunately. But the principle is to make the circulation of the energies, okay? But we have different subtle bodies, okay? Astral body, ether body, and so on and so forth, okay? But concretely, just come back to the point of the consciousness. We think the consciousness is here. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. The ancient, they were thinking it was in the heart. Fine. Is probably it's beyond of that. Actually, it's not that. Thinking that is exactly the same principle and very limited process. Is like if you think that okay, everything is here. All right, it's the same principle that if you watch, I don't know, a movie. And you say, how do they do to put everything, the elephant, in the square of my screen? You know, or how the guy are playing in the radio and so on. How they are very teeny, you know, they're very
Good
small
job.
because
It's magic.
yeah, it's magic. No, radio is just the notion of FM, MM,
AM.
sorry, LW, low waves, medium wave, and you know, it is a question of frequency. So you put football game, I don't know, rugby for Australia, you put whatever, you have a song and so on, and it's not because you switch off that the program is ending up. Same for the consciousness. It's the same principle. So we're starting to go to the point. There is a big difference in between the consciousness with a capital letter, which is here, everywhere, through everything, the presence. And then your consciousness, which is just a teeny part, which is just the drop of the ocean, okay? But the goal is to unlock. No, I'm not talking to you, and people don't be offended, of course. No, I mean that. No, just why that? I explain with the metaphor of the painting, right? You need to extract and exist to exist. I mean, the existing means to separate, okay? It's the same principle, actually. If you are everything, let's imagine you are the infinity. Okay. It's like actually, and that's why initially, normally this kind of, I do this conference, but I mix, so it's taking 10 hours, reality, consciousness, and space-time, because it's linked, it's entangled. Okay. So concretely, the consciousness with a small letter, okay, like the lower case, actually, it is just a filter of the whole information, the filter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be completely a mess.
Yeah.
If you had access to the consciousness, you would get in 1 second. For example, you watch a movie, okay, Titanic, or whatever, okay. So you have the keys, you have, but on different stage at the same moment. So there is no timeline, and you don't understand anything. And in parallel of that is even worse, because in parallel of that, there is one movie and there is another scenario and thousand and an infinity of scenarii in Latin. Okay, what does it mean? And I will just resume by that. One thing that I repeat very often, which is all exist already and all ready to exist. What does it mean concretely? It means that everything is here. The all information are here. All the scenario has been but you just match the frequency of the reality that you want. You just choose. And this is the notion of destiny. Destiny, fate, some people think there is only one line. Okay, there is one, and there is another one, and there is another one. And if you see, actually, it's like a sphere, an amazing sphere of consciousness, and everything is everywhere. But just we have to choose, and that's why I will reuse again this notion of language of birth. When you have the notion of free will is okay. I manage my life and so on. I choose my scenario. I'm co-creator and so on. But you can also hear free will in the sense WHEEL. What does it mean? If you don't have brakes anymore, you are
You go
you are
fast.
just you get fast, and also you are passive in your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's why this is very important. People believe actually all what we are emitting in terms of frequency. It is the law of attraction. This is what he said, Einstein. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the people say, "Oh, it's bullshit what you are saying. Look at me. I'm always attracting and always have problems in my life." Yes, because you are vibrating low frequencies. So low frequency matter. You have problems. It's a
Okay,
matter of fact. If I
so
can
let me
afford.
ask then: if I want a Ferrari, or if I want to find the love of my life, or if I want to make $1 million, is there a way of finding out what the
Mm-hmm.
frequency is of that, so I can then work towards making that frequency? And how do we do that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But actually, this is one thing. Well, it is really like the law of attraction, the whole story about The Secret, the movie, which is really money oriented. And that's why uh, when you know this kind of secrets in quote mark, then the morality intervene. Okay, why? Why do we want a Ferrari concretely? Okay, use it, and after 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, you will realize that maybe you can do many other things with it. Okay, or I respect. Okay, you do it. You know what I mean? So it's actually this is we say in alchemy. Alchemy is the fact to transmute the different matters. There is 7 stage, and the last one. Okay, people think you start from the plumber to the gold. There is only 6 stage, but this is not that at all.
Okay.
The last one is or in Hebrew. It means actually you have in the Kabbalah, you have actually it is the light, but not the photon light. It is the light. It is the divine light. Okay, so the quest is that the light of and in Arabic is the same. It's nur in Arabic.
No.
Okay, so the quest is the light, the divine light.
Hmm.
And concretely, we say in alchemy, if you're looking for making gold, you will never succeed. And if you can make, you don't need anymore. You know? It's true. And by the way, in
It's the
French,
fucking fun of the game, isn't it?
it is super funny. And by the way, in my name, the language of bird in Aurélien, so Issa, but Aurélien as well, or means this, divine light, and lien means links. That's why my life is that I try to make links in between people, in between the holistic dimensions to science and so on, and to try to help with my humble let's say a scale. And when I say that is not a pretension, I not pretend to have the light. Of course, I just try my best, because in the alchemy, the objective is to polish our philosopher's stone. And what does it mean? It means that you take it out. It doesn't mean that you become Mr. Nobody and you have no personality anymore. Not at all. It means that you are aware about the illusion, the mask, and then you try to be just not to have any resistance. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the resistance is that when you know what is Reiki? Reiki key is a key to understand. No, the key to open up the door of consciousness. Now, Reiki key in Japanese, it means chi energy.
Yeah.
Chi, it is in Chinese, and ki, this is in Japanese. This is the same principle than prana for Hindu, Buddhist, and so on. Okay, so
Okay.
it is the ether that we have in the ancient Greek philosophy. Okay, is the fifth element. The fifth element, it is entangling everything. Okay, fire, earth, and so on. And the fifth one is ether. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the point, and actually the goal in the Reiki is that you don't give energy to someone. You just let the energy circulating through you, and you give to the receiver. So the receiver has received, of course, the energy, and you receive as well because you are purified in a certain way. And actually, you can see this phenomenon is the same phenomenon that the miracles from Jesus, a Buddha, whatever, it is exactly the same principle. And the goal of this is just to be transparent as a glass, just to be a good recipient for absorbing the source. Okay?
Okay. Very
That
cool.
makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So actually, we are surfing around this notion of consciousness in a certain way. And because consciousness, there is the source, there is akasha for Hindu, there is actually there is a collective unconsciousness in the psychoanalysis, you know, with Freud and Jung. So ether as well, or maybe dark energy, the vacuum, whatever in science. And actually, this is always the same thing. Universe is the same thing, is the consciousness. I can give just an image for the people if they want.
Yeah.
Consciousness with a big C, capital letter, sorry, it could be compared to a lava lamp. You know, the lava lamp in the 60s, 70s. The Yeah, the parents have the lava lamp, you know, and when you were a kid, personally, I was spending hours and hours with that. I wanted to break it. I'm kidding. Sorry, naughty boy. No, but you have the bubble, concretely, the lava was a kind of consciousness. And then there it is separating, is sometimes is big, and then it is transforming and so on. And actually, the consciousness is exactly the same thing. That's why Lavoisier, the great scientist, he said the following. He said, nothing is creating, nothing is lost, everything is transformed. What does it mean? It means that nothing has been created since the Big Bang. Okay, it is just modified states
Mm.
of chemical and energy. Actually, okay, it's turning differently. Okay, that's why when we die is the same principle. We still have the fluid of the consciousness through the soul is one of them. If I go more deeper in that notion of consciousness, personal consciousness, so we are in the psychoanalysis, okay, there is the principle of consciousness, okay, your ego, your mind, and so on. There is the unconsciousness, okay, you're not thinking about breathing when you sleep, or the cells are managing by themselves and so on. This is your unconsciousness. And then there is something behind that, which is the collective unconsciousness. Okay, the collective unconsciousness, this is something which is like internet. Okay, we have access to internet concretely. And actually, in terms of, I will quote Jung, which is the disciple in certain way of Freud, but for me is the father of psychoanalysis. But actually, he says something very interesting. But before that, I would like to quote an unknown scientist, but very talented, with Jean-Émile Charon, is philosopher and scientist. And he says, in the universe, every atom is connected to every other atom through the substance, the esprit of antimatter. and every knowledge is potentially accessible to every atom of the universe. What does it mean concretely? Is exactly referring to what the Greeks said with Plato, the Plato's word of ID. There is like a cloud that we call consciousness, which is everywhere normally. But to visualize this, it is just what we call thought form or form
Yeah.
thought,
Okay.
thought form. You understand?
Mm.
Okay, it is intangible. Okay, so high because we think when you think you put some electrode, they will record some frequencies and some energy. Okay, so when you think about something, you emit. That's why we are emitter and receptor at the same time. But
Yeah.
concretely, when we discover, and by the way, you hear that discovering, what does it mean? You take it out the cover of something already existing. You put the light of something which was there. What I'm saying now, if you are discovering it, actually you are doing some connection, neuronal connection in between your neural and the synapse. What is it? Electricity. You know? So, but they were there. That's why the uh, I don't remember his name, but he's great. Sorry for him. Is Gibral? Maybe I pronounce mal. His name is a Lebanese philosopher. He said, "No man can reveal you anything except what is half asleep within you." Okay, so it means that's why we are talking about the cell memory. It's you reactivate
Mm.
something through an energy. I'm gonna tell you something. I had a retreat with a person. She said to me, "Oh, I'm not sure because she was Spaniard. I'm not sure about my English and so on. It's so and so on." And I say, "Okay, because it's a little bit deep, so it's maybe you should avoid." And she went and she said to me, "I understood everything." And you know why? Because she was not understanding really word by word, but she was catching, because now there is a distance in the Skype and so on, but there was a transmission through the body language, the kinesthesia, as we call that, technically speaking. But and actually, we reactivate this. We have an access to the consciousness in a certain way. We can download regularly when you sleep and so on. We can have an access to different data, which is a part of what we call the collective in consciousness. And if I can afford, I will quote, by the way, Jung. He said, in addition to our immediate consciousness, it exists a second psychic system of a collective, universal, and impersonal nature, which is identical in all individuals. So it's just explaining that when you access to the world of dreams in a certain way, we are accessing to the same. We had some testimonies of experience of people sharing with different angles of perception the same dream, a common dream.
Oh,
You
wow.
see, so there is something behind, and this is what this is quite recent, and this guy is a bit controversial, but very interesting. Um, a rapper, sorry for the pronunciation, Rupert Sheldrake is a British guy. He has sorry for the
Rapper
pronunciation.
Sheldrick.
Rupert Sheldrake. Well, anyway, sorry, excuse my French, but actually he initiate the notion of morphic field, the theory. What is it? Morphic. So there is three concepts: morphic, um, psychomorphic, morphic, and resonance morphic. What does it mean? The morphic is what you think, for example. If we are a lot of people thinking the same thing, we are co-creating the think. And so it's like a kind of the clouds. Okay. So we are bringing a certain energy and we reach the clouds. And the clouds, this is also what we call egregor. Okay. So,
Egregore.
and after a while, when people adhere to a new idea and so on, the evolution of the mankind in a certain way, actually there is a condensation of that. And then it starts to be on the matter. And the condensation, which is just some gas, but doesn't affect the formula of the water, H2O. Okay, and it goes down, and it's like a rain afterwards. So the source is recycled, okay, through this process.
Yeah.
So it means, concretely speaking, it means globally that, for example, I'm going to tell you something. We prepared in Europe the Second World War. It has been desired. Not only we, most of the European people hide beyond the responsibility of someone else, the alter, the other, and so on. But people wanted this fucking war. You know what I mean? So they started to think about the war and so on. As we are doing, we are co-creating the people. That's why I'm always saying how to fight, because some people ask me how to fight against the conspiracy and so on, because there is some true thing in the conspiracy and there is also a bullshit. Maybe also created to take out the, let's say, the truth of it. But anyway, we don't care. There is real things and stupid things.
Yeah.
But just the thing that if you struggle against that, it's credit it. Okay, it's give more power to it. So it means that it's better. Otherwise, we are all, we become bittered and embittered and so on, and we say, "Oh, what the fuck, horrible world, people are crazy and so on." Okay, let's fuck up the planet and what else, and we go to another world. No, so the thing is that is try to be aware about the cosmic joke, the trauma, the what we have concretely with the duality and so on, and trying to ignore it. It doesn't mean that you cannot struggle. You struggle differently and by emitting more light. And this is exactly our reason of being. With also the worldwide human benchmark, the all things regarding Shambhala is that the fact that we don't want to say, okay, they do that, they do that, they do that, okay, Monsanto and so on so far. No, we want to propose good ideas to people. Okay, look at this guy, he's doing organic things in his field and so on. What is the technique? Okay, and we reuse, and we're not waiting for upstream, the sky, I don't know, new Messiah or the government and so on. No. We do by our own, because we are just organizing, and the network will save maybe the things in the world like this. We co-organize, and if people are doing, by small communities and so on and so far, they are not doing anything bad. It's just a question to, something very important. Einstein said also the second most important thing after matching the frequency is say you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that we have created. What does it mean? It means that we have to think out of the box. We have to be creative for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we have everything is here, just unbalanced. Just once.
Who really stood out for me with that as well? Are you there? Yeah, who really stood out for me on that just quickly was Buckminster Fuller, who brought up that if there's any sort of system that needs to be changed, it's not about, you're not going to change the system by fighting in the old one. You're going to change it by creating a new system that's going to make the old system outdated and obsolete.
Yeah. But actually, because if people adhere to it, okay, you can blame some minorities, but and then also it will affect the global mentality of the people. So there will be an impact. This is exactly, so the morphic field is that there is a resonance as well, and it is also linked to another process of the 100th monkey theory. You know it?
Yeah.
The 100th monkey theory. Do you want me to summarize or to make it short? Concretely, this is some Japanese scientists from 52 to 58. They observed some certain race of monkey on an island. They just discovered that during 8 years. At the beginning, they were just eating some sweet potato, but with the sound, it was disgusting. One day, a luminous idea of one of them, and she started to clean up with water. Okay, so it was definitely more better in terms of taste. She taught other people of the community, some people are there, and so on. After 8 years, they reach a certain critical point. Okay, only five, maybe a random number, but maybe 5% of the community adhered to it. And suddenly, like a quantic lift, okay, all the community within this night are there, and they start to use this habit of eating the sweet potato with cleaning up, because before of that, people were keep on doing their bad habits in Kotama. So it just because a last one, so that's why we call that the 100th
Yeah.
monkey. So maybe the 100th one make, like the drop
The straw that broke the camel's
making.
back.
Yeah, exactly. This is the expression in English. So it is the point. And actually, this is interesting because it's a minority. But the worst thing is that in the same night, all the other monkeys from the same race adhere to the same philosophy without being taught and without any contact with this part of the race. It's like if, because the DNA, actually, the DNA is something also vibration. So it's like if for example, tomorrow, Google or whatever, iPhone change to download and to update, to upgrade, 2.1, 2. And so on, Skype and so on. When they do that, you have the choice. But when you say yes, then you adhere to the same principle of the structure. Okay, it's the same idea in a certain way. It means that once we will reach a certain threshold, okay, we will. This is the critical point. We will adhere to something new, different, and so on, and then it will be much more fun. Yeah, so that's why also this is important to help people, because one thing very important. This is what I always saying to people: the notion of ownership is just a big joke. Okay, I'm the owner of a land. I'm the owner of an ID. Okay, it's my ID. Okay, so it's my ID. So I register the copyright, and so copyright of what? You just download the ID from the, what the fuck is not yours? I mean, it's true. And a lot of people, because there is also the ego dimension, the egotic or egoic dimension. So people think, oh, it's me, the small me, the mini me of myself, who try to separate. But when you realize that it is just, it's not yours, your victory is just you download, that's it. And most of the great genius, yeah, understood that point. And that's why they were most of the time humble, because they just know that they are just vehicle, basically. But is it clear for you, this notion of morphic field? And like if there were a big thought form in potential, so the potential of information, and by the way, even information in formation, it means that it is in the process of making a form, of physical form, with the reduced energy.
I think,
so this is a principle of common thing.
Yeah, I think a way that it was really helped me, the sort of penny drop for me was it explained, like in our body and in our hands, we've got all these individual cells that have their own consciousness, and these atoms and cells are doing their own thing. Essentially, they're living their own life, and they've got their own free will and their own consciousness, but they're still a part of me, and I still sort of have this control over them. And so I'm sort of the collective consciousness of the cells that are within the individuals within my body, and us as a collective species. And it can be as small as in a family dynamic, or in a partnership, or in a community, or the world at large. There's all these different levels of this community consciousness, and yeah, it all speaks to each other, and it all moves sort of in harmony together as well, until it sort of, you have those sort of breaking points, and the 100th monkey point. But that's why we do what we're doing here, is so we can contribute in a way that we feel is going to better the planet and create that harmony, and create that that, I guess, well, what you said before, be useful and create harmony, with that two sides of it. And I think that if everyone can sort of tap into their own sort of usefulness and create harmony for themselves collectively, that's going to obviously have that tipping point eventually as well.
Yeah, sure. And actually, when you said that regarding the cells, and this is exactly what I say sometimes to my students for entrepreneurship, when they say, "Oh, I don't have the entrepreneurship mind," are you sure? Because you are a body, a company already. You are a co-propriety ownership. You have millions of cells, and there is an organization for that. You are apparently the CEO of that. You see, and actually, even within each cell in each chromosome, you have the whole genes. Okay, so you have the whole information. So that's why you can analyze the science or the biology and so on, and you will find back always the same principle. And this is what the mystical say, the Hermetism, which is Hermes Trismegism. Okay, who said as a apparently who say we don't know, but actually is a very ancient knowledge saying the following: as above, so below. Okay, and by the way, we can hear as well as above, so be love. But yeah, to be loved. But what does it mean concretely? It means that there is a resonance in between the small scale and the big scale. That's why, once again, I repeat, I say before, who may say you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean within a drop. That's why. And that's why the change that you want to see in the world is exactly the same principle. It is fractal holographic vision of the world. It's a little bit complex, fractal holographic. Fractal, we find back in the Indrasnet in the Hinduism and in the Veda, which is a reflection of the pattern. Just to give an example, if you observe, in the morning, a net of a spider, and there is a little bit of water. Okay, each drop reflects the entire pattern of the net. Is the same principle. That's why we say, and that's why the Jewish philosophy say, if you save a man, or a woman, if you save a man, you save the world. And this is the same principle. Actually, this is always the same. Whatever the culture, we always is a part of the for me, the world heritage. It's not my culture, your culture. Yeah, it's okay. I love food. Check this out. Okay, bring some good food from Australia, and we share with a good couscous from Morocco and a good wine from Italy and so on. And hey, we have more fun. It's the point.
Absolutely.
What's the point to say my cuisine from Spain is better than the Italian? We don't give a shit. We for every taste there is from every taste, and it's so good to enjoy and to share all this kind of thing. It was a metaphor, of course, of the knowledge and all the culture and the spiritualities as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And I want to have a look at some of the messages we've got and see if there's any questions in there. But while I have a quick read through, is there anything else specifically that you'd really like to touch on? Anything that you've found yourself repeating a lot lately, just in your coaching or in your lessons that you're taking people through? Something that you've noticed really coming up for the collective, or anything you'd like to share specifically that we haven't touched on yet?
Yes, maybe just one. We organize a planetary meditation every month for the full moon. So the next one will be 16th of July. Is free, of course. The on the Facebook, the page only dedicated for that is well-rounded, worldwide well-rounded meditation. Okay. And just is 10 minutes every month. And the goal, we are 3,000 for the moment. And the goal is to reach the critical point of the, let's say, the Maharashi. You were talking about Maharashi before. The Maharashi effect is square roots of 1% of the population. What does it mean? If you want an impact through the meditation on a certain population, so we are apparently 7.7 billion inhabitants on this planet, to have an impact on that, 1% of that is 77 million. Square roots makes 8,750. So we are waiting for 9,000 people. And we are doing that since the 21st of December. So there is absolutely no other goal than rising up the frequency of this planet. And because we think that we will reach this threshold, so it's so for the people they don't know how to meditate, it's super simple because they can download, and there is an access of the on YouTube on the 10 minutes of the guide meditation. They just have to listen and to visualize the ball of light and coming from their heart until the planet. And the goal is basically only that the people are purified from individually and to help the people. So of course some people will laugh. I explain exactly the ins and the outs and the outs. Sorry, the ins and the outs. It has been proved. Yeah, it was a lapsus. It has been proved in the Maharashi effect. And I invite people to check all what I say because maybe I inject some mistake voluntarily. No, more seriously, in the New York Times there is an article on that 1st of August 93. There is an experience with 3,000 people. They made a meditation with the goal to reduce the crime rate in Washington, and the police station everywhere they reduced by 25%. They did exactly the same in Lebanon during the war, Lebanon and Israel. So they did from Israel, they did also from Lebanon, and by miracle, the war has been almost stopped. Maybe thanks to that. For the people believe in the beautiful stories, and I do. So if people want to dream big, they are more than welcome.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. This is the only thing I could share, and otherwise people they can contact me with pleasure. I'm always aware to deepen this kind of discussion and whatever.
Yeah, I will put the link to the monthly meditation into the bio, and also the link to your website for the Shambhala.com retreat as well. Big thanks to those that have jumped on live: Sammy Moya, Nikki, Sylvia, Richie, Christian, for all your awesome messages. I didn't see any questions in there, so I think we explained everything beautifully.
I don't think we finished and we covered, but let's say it's a nice, is a good insight. There is so much to say regarding consciousness. It's a topic so wide and so on. Just the last one, if you want, is the notion of Pascal, who said that actually he said that it is a sphere for which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. And actually why I'm saying that is interesting quote, because it is referring, we don't know to what it is referring, consciousness, God, maybe everything actually. But what is interesting is really linked to the notion of quantum mechanics. It's like if we add a sphere of potentiality, so the wave of potential information, which are pending but already pre-existing. That's why even in English, when you say the present, it is pre-sent. Okay, it has been sent before in a certain way. I could go even further on because normally I linked with space-time. Even one thing, whatever the language is, English, Sloven, whatever the languages in Chinese and so on, except in Turkish, we say second. Why we don't? What is the first one then? What is the first one?
What is the first?
And actually,
well, that's because there's separation. There's always the second.
But the first actually is probably the rotation, like the casino wheel, and the second path. First is state, and the state is that the consciousness of the individual consciousness. This is the quantum collapse, okay, with the sphere of potential, and then the particle is only one state. And if I want to complexify a little bit more, the particle, what is it? This is the particle of God that the scientists call the the Higgins boson. And this is what the CERN is really concerned. The CERN is the giantist in Switzerland and France. This is a particle accelerator, and they try to accelerate so far. Look at that. Maybe we can see. If I accelerate my at the end, I only have one big
finger,
right? And actually, this is exactly what the Buddhism, the Hinduism, and all esoteric dimension explain regarding the notion of a singularity point and the notion of inner, let's say, the point of singularity. And actually, we are always talking about stillness equivalent to movement. And actually, after a while, if you turn so quickly, and actually, because there is only one particle, the particle of God, and this is the consciousness. And actually, why we have our own consciousness, the consciousness is just the filter. Otherwise, it will be impossible to understand the full package, the full story with the timeline and so on.
Yeah, I think
so. And this is exactly. Sorry, just to finish, this is exactly the thing that we do, for example, in Taoism Qigong, for instance, when we practice that in Shambhala retreats, we expand that. And the goal is to enlarge the perspective of the consciousness. Just let's do the only practical experience that we will do together. Most of the time, depending if people are a little bit, they don't have the eyes aligned, but normally we see at 120 degrees. Okay, but you can see that normally. Okay, except people. Well, anyway, people could do the experience. They will they will realize that actually they can focus, or they can enlarge by focusing and in parallel be aware about the fact that there is people. It's the same, more down to earth. Someone is observing you. If you're a woman, a man, and you don't want, he is seeing that you is observing you, and this kind of thing. And actually, the goal, for example, in Taoism and in Qigong, what we do, for example, we try to enlarge the consciousness with the notion of having a sphere of consciousness and to enlarge our consciousness, which is the principle of astral travel and everything regarding the notion of what I say, with the development of a complete mind for Da Vinci, when he say, relearn how to see, okay? And it means that to see behind of your eyes with the third eye, and that's why we activate the third eye, the different chakra and the potentiality that we have. We are just exploring 5% of our capacity. There is so much to do. And one of the goals, as my concern, and this is one of the concern of Shambhala, is the goal is that to enlarge the consciousness of the people individually, not for the pleasure to show off, I'm super strong, I can go out of my body and so on. No, this is bullshit. We don't care. And this is just to try to be, because you will see and you will meet people, the wiser they are normally, the more they are humble, because they just understood that this is not their ownership once again. And otherwise they are punished and they lose everything.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know as well. I think it is so humbling. The more stones you turn over, and the more you find.
Yeah. But this is exactly that. This is Socrates, the Greek philosopher, who said that what I know is that I don't know. And actually, the knowledge is like, you arrive at the peak of a mountain and you see an horizon, and there is other mountains, and this always. And the more you explore, and the more you think that you will never have time enough to discover all what. So it's fascinating. That's why I cannot understand when I hear. I get bored. You see, there is so many things.
Yeah, boring people get bored.
Can be, but we can try at least to take some pleasure and some happiness in what we do.
Yeah,
as an experience, even through boring things. Yeah,
I think
you can enjoy boring.
I think you've helped me discover who and what I am as my identity moving forwards, which is a presenter. I think I'm a presenter, helping people to be present presenter.
Yeah, that's nice. But you know that presenter in French, it could have been actually a guy handling the show, actually. But it's matter of fact, it's that you are presenter.
That's right.
Presenter. Yeah. So copyright. I want royalties for everybody putting that. You wanted I talk about business, so business oriented. I'm kidding.
Done. You've heard it here first.
It's not my own. I just download.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And by mirror effect, you catch back and you smash afterwards.
That's it.
It's a common victory. Same player, play again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm in the process of potentially putting together some retreats as well. So I'd love to just have your ear and just chew your brain a little bit in the future about that. So even if we do that live for other people's benefit or in person or together, that'd be great. But brother, great to have you on. Always a pleasure, and I'm sure that there's been a lot of nuggets. I'm actually going to go through and chop this up and turn it into a lot of different little bits of content as well. So I think that you've put yourself out there and put a lot of wisdom out there for a lot of people. So I think that this long form of interviews that we're doing, which we've gone for 2 hours now, which is beautiful. There's going to be a lot to give to people outside of that as well. So I'm excited to see where we go from here, to continue to learn from you and grow with you and create with you as well, because this is a beautiful thing we're doing. And I'll share, of course, the planetary meditation as well. I think that's amazing, and I'm gonna push that a lot more for you as well, because that's such a small number, it's such an achievable number, and you've already got 2,000 to get to that 8,000 mark. Hopefully, and shouldn't take too long as well, but. Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to be a part of that.
No, it's not. It's not supposed to be constraintful. It's really easy, and people can download on their mobile phone and do it in the toilets or whatever.
Cool.
It's 10 minutes.
It's my favorite place.
No need to be connected. Yeah, but no need to be connected, because there is no live. It's only people are just connected. They put their hearing plug and that's it, and they do as they want. And once again, when you say it's for you, it's super nice from you. But actually, it's for everybody. I'm not doing for my own. I'm trying to do it for other people in general. And so that's why people, no need to be recorded and to have the pleasure to have 10,000. I don't know. The goal is really that people are doing with their heart. This is the most important.
Yeah, but it's sort of sharing that information so that it can reach more of the collective. So that collective consciousness has a greater chance of hitting that critical mass and that critical point, and doing it so people have that that ability to get that, improve that quality of life, like we started talking about, and raising their consciousness.
Together we are stronger.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. I would implore people to get onto the 30-day Go Live challenge as well. You can just search up the 30-day Go Live challenge and check out that. That's a great space to just start facing your fear. Public speaking is one of the greatest fears, if not the greatest fear that most people face as well. So it's a great space and a supportive space to really start getting out of your comfort zone and getting into just a position of being comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's free, and it's there for everyone to jump on board and have a look at as well. So check that out. Brother, thanks for joining us. Stay with me, and I'll shut this down, and we'll catch up with everyone again over the Daily B Show. Will be back next week. So thanks for joining us. And Issa, again, thank you, brother. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.